Won't you be my friend? One that I'll defend. Got a hand to lend. You'll be smiling through the end. You call me a half-pint sprout, but I want you to know, friends say there is no doubt that I'm a whole hero. My love for adventure is second to none. So if you come along with me, we'll have lots of fun. Won't you be my friend? One that I'll defend. I've got a hand to lend. We'll be smiling through the air. Remember when things get dark, I can be your light. When you're ready to disembark, I'll be there to fight. I'm going to mold the earth just to give you a hug. And when there's a storm outside, we'll be snug as a bug. Won't you be my friend? One that I'll defend. I've got a hand to lend. We'll be smiling through the air. Friendship is strong and we'll never part. Saving the world with the power of our heart. I'll never say goodbye, 'cause legends never die. Save me from the world with the spirits high. Won't you be my friend? One that I'll defend. I got a hand to lend. We'll be smiling through the air. Won't you be my friend? One that I'll defend. Walk around the bend. A God we could tell. Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to another remote from home edition of the Idle Champions weekly live stream. My name is Dylan, and I'm coming to you live from the darkened corner of my home office / entertainment room in beautiful Victoria, BC, Canada. And I am joined today by a very special guest who you may already know from Silver and Steel. Unless you saw her on Bardic Inspiration last week, maybe, as we wrote that killer song that we totally just did the intro with. Please welcome Hope LaVelle.
Ooh.
Hi. Thanks for coming back. And thank you for being flexible enough to be able to reschedule for this week after I was unable to make it last week.
Yeah, of course.
It was appreciated. Before we get too far into it, I should also do a shout out to our moderator and producer, Jay, our executive producer, Erica, and of course, huge thanks to D&D for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It is just awesome to be here. So thank you all. Thanks all around. So yeah, it's funny. When we were doing Bardic Inspiration last week, and there was that moment where Jason was working on something, we were kind of started talking about Penelope, and I'm like, no, we're not supposed to do that part yet. We're supposed to wait for the other show where that's the only thing that we talk about. So before we get into Penelope, maybe you could give us some insight into your D&D story. When did you get into D&D? How long have you been playing? Etc. That kind of stuff.
So I've been playing D&D for about 13, 14 years now. I started back in, oh, this will be dating myself, back in early high school years when found some geeky friends and they introduced me to it and I just fell in love with it. At that point, we were playing 3.5 and we played like crazy all the time. And then I went off to college and I didn't get to play for years. And then when I moved down here to LA, I was doing stunt work and doing mocap work and became friends with TJ Storm. And through that, it was just one day we were eating lunch with a whole bunch of people, and he had just purchased some D&D books, and he was looking at them kind of shyly. And I'm like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Well, do you play D&D?" I'm like, "Yeah, I play D&D." He goes, do you want to play? And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to play." And so we got a group together and we started playing, and that was like 4 years ago, and we're still playing that home game. And it was because of him that I got to be a part of the Beyond Heroes / Silver and Steel crew. So I really have a lot to thank him. But that's kind of where everything went for my D&D my career, my entire life of D&D.
That's super cool. So were you playing Penelope in the home game, or is Penelope a character you made for Beyond Heroes and Silver and Steel?
Yeah, so I actually was playing. I created Penelope half-pint. Well, I created Penelope as my character in that home game. She was called Penelope Proudfoot. She was she was actually a ranger. And she sadly died. She died in our campaign. So I was really happy to be able to, reiterate her into a new character and bring her back as Penelope Half-Pint.
Okay. That's funny. So is there a reason that you went back with Penelope? Was it the personality of the character, or what part of you are you expressing with Penelope?
Yeah, no, I definitely brought her back because I love how different she is from kind of normal D&D characters who are usually tough and brooding and heroic and I think that's why I brought her onto the show, because I was talking with Adam Bradford, who was bringing everybody together, and when we were talking about what kind of character do you want to bring on the show? I talked about Penelope. I was like, well, I have this halfling who's really cute and adorable, and she's kind of silly and dumb. And he goes, well, that would be great because we have that would really fill a hole in our group already. So he was very excited about it, and that's kind of why I ran with it.
Okay. Is that a pattern of, like, do you often play cutesy characters, or did you have your own brooding edgelord fighter character at some point?
I don't think I've ever played a brooding character, but I definitely like to do not normal characters. I do like playing kind of silly characters most of the time because, I'm not a very serious person. I have this barbarian, Luxodon barbarian named Impa de Bimpa, and she's totally like this hippie chill. She's like, hey guys, I kind of feel like angry and I'm gonna like rage now. So you better get out of my way. I'm very angry. So I just like playing characters that aren't kind of like, super normal.
Huh. I'm curious about that. So I could be totally wrong about this, but one of my observations, because we have the great joy and pleasure of working with a lot of different people in the D&D community to bring their characters into the game at different times, and like all of them have there's I don't want to say something pathological because that makes it sound too intense, but like they all have aspects of themselves that they consistently express through almost every character they make. Or in the case of Todd, he is his character, and his character has been everybody, I think. Yeah. So what about Penelope? Do you what do you draw inspiration from with yourself when you're playing her?
I think that I myself just wants everybody to be happy and to have a good time. So that's Penelope. I think that's a lot of Penelope, is that I want the players at the table to be happy and to laugh and to not take things so seriously, especially in serious moments. Like, just to remember that, we're all friends here. So yeah. It's kind of, she's kind of personified that way, as like, hey, we're all friends. We're having a good time at the table. Let's remember that.
Huh, cool. Now I'm guessing this is the first time one of your D&D characters has showed up in a video game.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome.
What was the process like for you? In terms of obviously, we eventually reached out, but this is not the first character from Beyond Heroes or Silver and Steel to make it into the game. So was that one of those things where you're just kind of like, oh well, I kind of hope I get the call too, kind of thing, or what was it like for you?
I was absolutely like when some of the Beyond Heroes characters were being made, I'm like, oh my God, that would be amazing if they called me. And then they did, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And the process was quite amazing and really enjoyable with when you guys reached out and just that initial phone conversation of, they just wanted to know, like, tell us about Penelope. Tell us, what makes her special, what you love about her, and getting to really delve into what makes Penelope, and that the artists and the creators really took that to heart. And every step along the way, the whole process was just a beautiful experience of coming back to me. Every single thing that was created went through me for approval, which I was just blown away at. And like, because you guys really took care of, like, this is my character. You want to do it right. And I thought that was just so lovely. And I really didn't have any notes or anything. Almost every single time it was just like, oh my God, I wouldn't even have thought of that. That's amazing. So the process was just absolutely enjoyable.
Cool. Were there any times, because I know we get right into detail about things like equipment items and like how they tie to backstory and stuff. Were there moments with that part where you're like, it influenced the way that you're going to play Penelope because you thought more about some of the equipment and items than you normally do?
I'm a person who really takes encumbrance into effect. Like I am always thinking about what my character is carrying and what they're wearing. And just as the way I visualize the game, I'm like, well, Penelope is this cute little halfling who wouldn't be able to carry very much. So I don't usually have a lot on her person. So it really came into play of like, when you guys asked me, like, what type of weapons does she carry? What are there anything like items or artifacts that she has on her body or that she uses? And I was like, oh, you know what? I really, I have to really think about that because she doesn't really carry a lot. So it actually, when we're going through the process of picking out items and stuff, she's got her Chewinga mask and she's got this piece of art that she carries of Orkira in her. And then she does have her like one staff of the woodlands that, she got at one point in the Beyond Heroes game. And like remembering all these items that Penelope has actually really did affect me in the way that I played the game on Tuesdays or Wednesdays whenever we would play the game, because I'd remember like, oh, I have these things that I should be using. I got the Chewinga mask. I should put it on in battle, to show that she's getting serious, and I should use my shrub cloak to hide more often, and pull out that staff of woodlands just to do an epic move or whatever. So it really did affect the way I play.
Neat. Yeah, I've always thought about asking people about that, but I don't always remember because conversations can go in all kinds of different directions. Mm-hmm. And speaking of different directions, I remember before we connected last time for Bardic Inspiration, and I'm like, who is Hope LaVelle? Because we didn't really meet. Like when we're doing design calls, we're all there, but we're not really meeting each other. We're all like, we're like taking notes and doing information stuff. And I remember reading your bio, I'm like, and seeing that you went to Vancouver Film School, which is like pretty darn close to where I am right now. I mean, we're not in Vancouver, but I have been by that campus before. Mm-hmm. And but also that you work as a stunt woman. So tell us a little bit about how someone goes to film school in Vancouver, goes down to LA, and ends up working on, Nickelodeon stuff and doing stunts. And
yeah, it was quite a journey. When I went to film school, of course, I wanted to be a director. I loved making films. I still do to this day. Love directing and writing and producing films. It's always going to be a part of me. But after film school, I started working in the industry. I was working in Vancouver. My visa expired, so I had to move down to LA and continue working there. So I picked up a couple jobs here and there, and worked production and worked behind the scenes. And then I started working for Disney and found that everybody's really jaded there. So I moved over to Nickelodeon, and everybody was really awesome there. And that was really a fun experience. But you work so hard and you work so much, and it just really burns you out. And I remember just one day just being like, I can't do this anymore. I am so burnt out. I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I need a change. And so I quit my jobs. I was like, what do I want to do? What will be fun? What's something I can just focus on? And that was the moment I discovered parkour. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be a ninja. Let's go check out some parkour. And I started doing parkour with the community in LA. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I was just training every single day, like in the gyms, out on the streets, and making friends, and really like honing in on my skills. And it was one day that somebody at the gym said, hey, you're really good at parkour. You should try stunts, because we need more women in stunts. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. It sounds cool. And so I kind of just fell into it. That's a joke. But I found out that I was really good at it. I really enjoyed it. I was really good at it. I'm really good at falling. They call me the most graceful faller they've ever seen. And I learned I was, did karate and martial arts, and I was learning to fight and do fight choreography. And it really just rolled into this whole career of just doing stunts and getting to double for kids, because I'm like 5'0", so I'm like really short, and getting to play like the teenagers in like school that like gets hit by lockers or gets flown out of a window, doing high falls and stuff. And I really just did all of it, and I've really fell in love with it. So I don't know. I don't remember what the question was, but yeah, that's kind of what happened.
It's just curious about the path to going to film school, and then going north to film school, going south to fall gracefully.
Okay, then yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Huh. That's super cool. And I noticed there's some notes in there about being on Supernatural, being on I think there were some other call outs too, but I'm forgetting what they are off the top of my head.
Yeah, Fringe, Supernatural, Chronicle.
Fringe.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool.
All those shows that I don't know how many people actually remember anymore, but Fringe at the point was my favorite show ever, and it ended up being my first job in the industry, was getting to work on Fringe. I can't tell you how much I freaked out, but of course I had to do it internally because I had to be a professional. Yeah. But every once in a while I would be like in Walter's lab, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm in Walter's lab. This is so cool. And I'm just like freaking out. And that's when I knew I just was doing the right thing. I knew I was where I needed to be.
That's good. I mean, as long as it's bringing you that kind of excitement and joy while you're doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Fringe. I thought Fringe was a great show.
Yeah,
and I think it was on TV for the right amount of time.
It was 4 seasons.
Yeah. No offense to Supernatural, which is in season 15. And,
15 already? See, I worked on season 7. Yeah. So that's how long ago it feels.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Don't date me. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, they are wrapping it up though, apparently. Officially,
really?
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
They said 6 seasons was going to be the end. Nope. Still
going. As somebody who used to watch it a lot, narratively, it seemed to come to a pretty definitive end around season 4 or 5-ish.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh, is this show done? No.
Nope.
No, fool, 10 more years. So,
I feel bad for those actors, but then again, at the same time, they have a lifelong job that they get to, that security they have of having this amazing show that they get to be a part of for so long.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know any of them, but the little bits that I have picked up is that, the tall one, Jared, met his wife on the show, and they have a family and all that stuff, and I think they've probably been in Vancouver for a real long time at this point.
Yep. It's a great place to be, though. Vancouver is my favorite place in the world. I wish I could go back. Take me back, please.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the border's going to open this year. I'm sorry.
No.
You want to go back to Vancouver. I want to go back to Hawaii. Like, yeah.
One day.
Yeah. Someday when things are a little bit, a little more stable everywhere.
Yeah.
So you're in the stunts. Is the company that you work at now, is like, are you doing stunts there, or like what's your role like there? Because I notice you have you do producer credits now too.
Yes. So I'm a producer at a studio called Funko Studios, which we're a full production studio, but we're also an art and fabrication house. So we are completely fully shopped art department. So we build sets, we build props, we do really weird special effects stuff. So that's kind of my day job right now is helping produce those sorts of things. And then on the side, I'm still doing stunts, and I'm working mocap. That's kind of where my focus is I really want to do more mocap. So
yeah, and that's what TJ does, right?
yes, well, TJ is a amazing stuntman, stunt performer, motion capture performer. He does it all, but yeah, they call him an action actor. That's kind of the term in Hollywood that you use when a stunt performer can also act, because there's a lot of stunt people who are really good at stunts, but you give them a speaking role and they can't do it. So there's stunt people, there's actors, and then there's action actors. And TJ Storm is definitely an action actor who can do so much, and his motion capture performing is just out of this world.
Yeah, I remember reading an article talking about motion capture being developed as a technology, and I'm pretty sure he was one of the people mentioned in it as helping them develop the tech or something. And I was like, whoa, really?
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. And he's really involved. I actually remember, I have this really cool story about TJ, is I was actually on the set the day that he was doing Godzilla work for the new movie, and he was playing Godzilla. And had all these executive producers like in these chairs and all these people doing tech stuff, and he was the only one in the center of the room. We call it the volume. He's the only one in that area, and they call recording, and he just kind of gets into this like Godzilla stance, and he kind of just did like a pickup of his foot and a pickup of his arm, and then he like shook his tail a little bit, and it was just so powerful. He barely moved, but it was so powerful that when they called cut, he got a standing ovation from all of the producers sitting at the video village. It was crazy. So getting to see him perform is always just such a treat.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I really enjoyed the last couple Godzilla movies, so so good work to him. Do you have any dream roles that you're aiming for?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Anybody who's an X-Men fan, I would love to play Hope Summers one day, because she's this badass little redhead and her name is Hope. So I was like, it's obviously going to come true, because obviously I'm Hope. I'm a, badass little redhead who's, always loved X-Men. So that would be a super cool role to do. Maybe if I even get to play her in a video game, like get to do her motion capture, that would be fulfilling enough. I would love to do something like that. Getting to play characters in video games, it'd be cool, because, now I have a character in a video game and playing characters in video games. It would be just like a dream come true. It can complete the circle.
And on the note of hopes and dreams, what are Penelope's hopes and dreams? What does she want to do?
Okay, well, Penelope loves adventure. She's always looking for that next adventure. She wants to find the biggest adventure she can handle that saves people's lives or brings people together. She's all about making friends. If she could make friends with everyone in the world, she could. And on a smaller note, she's in the search of a golden beetle. If you've ever seen a golden beetle in D&D, it's a super rare item, and she's never found it before. So that's one of her biggest goals. She's got to find that golden beetle. Penelope, she doesn't think on huge scales all the time. She's always, she loves bugs.
That's interesting, because I find that, I don't play D&D to entertain. I just play it with some friends sometimes. But trying to get yourself into the mindset of like, okay, I'm this character, and these are my goals, and these are the things I want to do. Like, that seems to be like the most fun part of D&D, just kind of in general, is just in trying to inhabit it. I don't know where I was going to go with that. I don't have a question. I was just kind of like thinking it out and talking at the same time.
Yeah, I think especially when you're in when you're doing a show, particularly, like, it's one thing to have a home game where, you've got your own goals and stuff, but and you're always trying to like reach those goals. But it's in a show, especially for me, I really want my character to have an arc, to have somewhere that they need to go or some growing that they need to do in order to like really give depth to the character as you watch the show and really get people to be more involved with this character. And so I know for Penelope, when we first started the show, I made her super afraid of everything. I made her not brave at all because I wanted her to learn to be a hero, learn what it means to be brave, and find what motivates her to be brave. So I did that whole arc. And I remember getting a little bit of heat for it because a lot of people were like, well, halflings are brave. They have that feat that they're brave. And I'm like, yeah, but, it's all about telling a story. So, I mean, I understand that. But yeah, a lot of people were like, why isn't she brave? I'm like, because that's who she is. She's a new adventurer. When I started out, like a lot of people start out their characters as being like these amazing people already. And I wanted to start my character. I wanted to start Penelope as somebody who had a lot of room to grow.
I wanted to make a joke about halflings as soon as you said a lot of room to grow, but one of the players in chat was asking what the golden beetle does. Does it do anything, or is it just a beetle that's gold?
It's just a golden beetle. I don't know if it does anything because she's never found it. She's just heard the stories.
You peel the foil off and it's chocolate, like.
Yeah, it's just something she's always been looking for, and it's elusive. Nobody knows anything about the golden beetle except for that it exists. It's kind of a lore that I made up, and hopefully now people will put the golden beetle somewhere in their game.
Huh. Interesting. Is that one of those things that when Todd was DMing, and now I'm gonna get her name because I always think of that bronze girl as her name. But
yes,
that's not her name. It's Jasmine, right?
Jasmine.
Okay. Is that something that you have a back and forth with your DM about? Like, hey, I'm really looking for this golden beetle, or is it just something that comes up through gameplay? Your character talks about it, or how does that work for? Okay.
So Penelope's always talking about the golden beetle when she's, looking for bugs and stuff, or she's pulling out. She's just like, it's something that is just kind of like a side quest for her. And she always talks about it. It kind of would make me sad if she ever found one, to be honest, because it's just one of those impossible goals that she's always trying to reach for. So I don't think anything will ever come of it. It's just one of those things that she wants and hopefully finds.
You'll find a Tarrasque-sized golden beetle pushing a boulder. It's just like pushing it through the landscape.
That would be amazing. Her eyes would just grow so big, and she'd just be like, "Oh my god!" She'd try to put it in her shrub cloak. She's like, "I'm taking this home. I'm taking it with me."
Do you have? I know that during the design call, we always ask what are Penelope's most legendary moments, because we're trying to figure out a way to identify something that feels like it should be her ultimate ability and other stuff. But for you, when you're playing on a regular basis, and I think you guys are in 3 seasons in, mm-hmm. 2 or 3 seasons in, what are some of the highlights for you playing Penelope?
I think that some of the highlights, let's see. I think the moments that I remember the most with Penelope are not when she's doing something epic, but when she's lifting up a character who is doing something epic. Penelope has never been a leader. She's always been support. She's always there to lift up her companions when they're down or where they need extra support. And I think in a sense that there was a really epic moment, though, when we were all in Avernus and we were riding. I don't know. It was just one of these amazing things. We were fighting a god and all these demons in Avernus, and we were riding one of those. I forget what they call it. The machines. They're basically these giant vehicles, mm-hmm. and we were riding it. We were riding into epic battle, and we were fighting on this thing, and we were fighting this god who had killed Penelope, and she was in Avernus fighting for her life to get her life back. And her whole companions and stuff, we were all fighting the same character, but she got the killing blow. She came in with the scythe and she just right through the middle. And that was just one moment in the entire campaign when Penelope actually got to feel a little badass, you know?
I see Lauren's in chat. She's like, ah, yes, the war machine.
Yes, that's what it was, a war machine.
Huh. Do you, I don't want to jinx Penelope or anything like that, but like, do you keep character ideas ready for if a character passes or something? Like, do you have something ready to move on to for Penelope? Or are you like, I will make Penelope 3.0 or 4.0?
No, I'm a strong believer, I'm a hypocrite. I'm a strong believer in when a character dies, a character dies. You lay them to rest and they can never be resurrected. Now, I'm a super hypocrite because when the show came, I was like, no, Penelope would be so perfect for this show. I didn't completely resurrect her. I changed her from a ranger to a druid and gave her a different name and kind of reworked her a bit. So I kind of cheated there because when Penelope died, Penelope Proudfoot, when she died in the home campaign, I cried. I absolutely cried. I wrote a song about her. I did all this mourning, and I think that it should be the same. It's like losing a family member, or it's like losing someone very close to you. You spend all this time with a character. I think that you should lay them to rest if they die, and I think that brings more meaning to their death and to their life as a character. So if Penelope were to die in some blaze of glory in the show or anything, I would definitely try to pick a new character. As hard as it would be to pick somebody or come up with a character as exciting and as neat as Penelope.
Was Penelope Proudfoot's death your first character death, your first PC death?
Yep, and it was hard. It was very hard. Yeah, I had never experienced it before. But it had a lot of meaning knowing that she wasn't going to come back and that I had to start a new character. But it was at that point where it's like, now I have to start a new character. Where do I go from here? And trying to be creative on do I pick a character who's similar or do I try to go in the completely opposite direction? And I remember going in a completely different direction with a character who ended up being really cool and really badass.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, it's funny because a couple of times we worked with people whose characters died while we were making them for the game.
Oh,
and so they were dead before the game showed up.
Oh, no.
Before they showed up.
Oh, no. What do you do?
It happens. It happens. First of all, Mark Holmes is a ruthless DM who will kill your character. Yeah. So two of the Arrowist characters had both died.
Oh no!
Honestly, it's just funny. it's just hilarious. We're like, what can you do?
Yeah, it's kind of like when Freely lost his arm in the middle of you guys making his character.
Yeah. B Dave sent us an email. I was like, Freely doesn't have an arm anymore. We're like, what?
Yeah.
But luckily. Replacing an arm with a clockwork on and still being able to use all the animations and stuff is a thing that exists because otherwise it could have been a lot of work. But yeah, we still do our best. We want everybody who's every character that comes to the game. We want it to be the version of that character that people have the strongest connection to, that they liked the most with their characters. So
yeah, you guys are really great about it. It's quite amazing.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate the feedback too, because it's we work so far out now. We're having meetings with people right now about characters for halfway through next year.
Wow.
Some of whom may already be friends with Penelope, maybe. Yeah,
everybody. That's everybody. You did not label it down at all.
Yeah. No, that was the plan. That was the plan. Wasn't trying to narrow it down. But no, some of them may or may not be coming sooner rather than later. Do you? So, is actually, you know what? I was going to go in one direction with the question, but I'm going to go in a different direction with it. Because Beyond Heroes was at D&D Live last year when there was one. You guys were in one of the booths playing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was that experience like for you? Was that your first D&D Live, or did you come to one of the previous ones?
Yes, that was my first D&D Live experience. It was a lot of firsts. Let me think. I believe, yeah, that D&D Live was the very first time that our entire party got to be together in person, because we've always been over the internet group.
Yeah.
So we had never met in real life, and getting to like see people in real life and be able to, hug them and play across the table with them was literally one of my most like favorite experiences. Something like that feeling that I will always cherish, because you grow with these people, but to be in person with them, I wanted to hold on to that moment forever. And also getting to see how tall Todd is. It was just like, oh, I didn't picture you so tall. Yeah,
Todd's pretty tall. Yeah, B-Dave's pretty tall too.
B-Dave is so tall. Yeah. And one of the most surprises, which, Lauren, I love you so much, but I didn't realize that you were just as short as me, and it made me love you so much. She always seems so much like taller on the internet. I don't know why, but I absolutely loved it. I was like, hey, somebody my height.
Yeah, Lauren is the glue that holds the D&D community together.
She really is. She's fantastic.
We first met her at the previous one, the Stream of Many Eyes on the Waterdeep set.
Oh, yeah.
I always retell the same story, but there was this moment where James Hake and Lauren and myself and Clive, our marketing director, were all standing there. We were all trying to talk about Waterdeep Dragon Heist, but evading talking about it because we weren't sure who was under what NDA. And then we kind of stopped. We're like, hold on. We're all at the same Waterdeep Dragon Heist reveal event. We can talk about this because it's the same NDA. And we just got to talk about it with somebody for the first time. Yeah, it was super funny. That's
awesome. Yeah, NDAs, man. There's so many things I'd love to talk about, but I'm under NDAs.
I have no doubt. Working in Hollywood, I imagine, is just absolutely full of them.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a tricky business. And then, we talk to Todd about a lot of things, and he always references the many NDAs he's under and all the different companies that have them. Yep. So it's just like, oh, okay.
It's funny because, I'm really bad with like social medias, and I'm still kind of new to Twitter. I only started Twitter when I started the D&D show. And I just I'm always looking for something to post about. And I'm like, I can't post about my life because my life is just an NDA. So it's like, I'm always trying to find things to be able to talk about. And it's just super hard.
I hear you. Yeah. There's on a similar note, but different, because obviously I'm not working in Hollywood, so I don't have a whole variety of NDAs. I have just a handful of them that are all tied to pretty similar things. But it makes it, because I often work in a communications role, doing outward-facing communications to our community in some way, or to players directly or whatever. And I'm like, there's a lot of stuff I can't say. And it's not because we don't want to, because we totally want to. Yeah, we want to so bad.
But the consequences are worse than you can imagine.
Yeah. Well, never mind the consequences. It's just, you don't want to be the person that potentially ruins something or spoils something
true.
Or anything like that.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. I noticed that Lauren typed out in chat in all caps that Orkira would never let Penelope die.
She has never let Penelope die. And honestly, with Freely, he calls us the halflings of action. And I'm Penelope's role, her what do you call it? Her catchphrase is act first, think later. And so she's always jumping into battle before thinking about what she's doing or whether or not it's a good thing to jump into battle. And so she's been in many situations where she has dropped below zero. And luckily, in Beyond Heroes, or Kira she'd use her death ward on us. She'd be able to resurrect us. She'd always be there for us. And it's probably not a great thing, because then we're just like, oh, we can do whatever we want because our Kira is just going to heal us.
That's so funny. Hey, good clerics are invaluable. What can I say?
Yeah.
Huh. So, because I know you can, now that I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of stuff that I can't ask you about, because I'm dying to hear more about like what your production company does. Actually, maybe we can't. Maybe you could give us some examples of some projects that you've worked on with them that you're really proud of.
Let's see. Well, if anybody's ever seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure with Joe Manganiello, there's that scene where Pee-wee has created the entire town in a miniature form. That's one of my favorite pieces because we created that miniature of the town. We do a lot of miniature work. We've done like Old Spice commercials, which were really fun. We did this really cool like kaiju battle for Old Spice, where we built this miniature city that got destroyed by these two kaijus that were fighting and falling on like buildings and stuff, and that was really fun. What else? I don't know. We do so much. We do miniature work and special effects works. We blow stuff up. We build couches that talk. We've done a show called Super Fan Builds, which was on Netflix for a while. I don't know if it still is, but where we pick a fan, or I guess the show picked a fan of some sort of fandom, whether it be Wizard of Oz, How to Train Your Dragon. What else? D&D. We ended up making Matt Mercer's. Is it a fountain? I think it was like a Cthulhu fountain that he has in his backyard. We made that. So we've done these huge D&D tables that we've made where we've carved dragons, custom carved dragons into the legs. We do pretty much everything. So we do get to do a lot of D&D stuff though, which is always really cool. People come to us with custom builds or designs. So that's really fun.
Oh, so do you guys do contract work for stuff that's outside of television and film as well? Like somebody wants a really cool table and you're like, yeah, we can make you one of these D&D tables.
Oh yeah, we'll do anything. Our logo is, that's impossible. When do you want it? So we'll literally do anything that comes in, and we'll create anything for people who, even just small time people who are just like, I really want to make this thing for my girlfriend or something, like bring a custom piece of work together for them.
Huh, that's super cool. Mm-hmm. But then also doing stunts and parkour. Tell me about a talking couch.
It's called the Grouch Couch, and it's this toy that like shoots things and eats things, and we got to build a live version of it. So it's this giant puppeted couch that's that opens up and it can like eat people, and it's just one of those things that people come to us with the weirdest things that we need to make, and we're just like, sure, okay, we'll figure it out.
Does that actually rank as one of the weirdest things that you guys have made?
Oh, no, not even close. It's definitely one of the more interesting things, but I'm totally drawing a blank because we just do so many things. I don't know if you know that show Holy Moly. It's like that golf show. We built an entire miniature for that. We do a lot of miniature work, and I think we do a lot of stop motion. We did a Brisk commercial with Machete that was completely stop motion. We've done an Eminem music video that was stop motion. We do a lot of weird stuff.
Huh. Neat. That's super cool. I mean, it's getting distracted from D&D, but I'm just like curious what your production company does and like how that fits into the life of a stunt woman D&D player, and it's very multifaceted.
What I really have to I have to say I really love the studio because they actually really support my D&D work. And they actually they're very supportive of me taking time off every single week to do the show. Like when the show, the Beyond Heroes was on Wednesdays from 2 to 4 p.m., which is like smack dab in the middle of a work day. And I remember when TJ called me and he's like, hey, they're making this new D&D show. I put you on the short list for it. I think you'd be great. And I was like, a show? Like a weekly thing? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, when's it going to be? He's going to be like on Wednesdays from 2 to 4. I'm like, I can't do that. I have a full-time job. I can't, I would not be able to, there's no way that I'd be able to take off time every single week. And I almost said no to the show. I almost was like, there's just no way I can't do it. And he's like, Hope, you don't understand how big of a thing this is. Like, you need to do it. And I was just like, okay, I'll try, I'll ask, I'll see. And then talking to the CEO of the company, I was like, hey, I got this show that would be in the middle of the week, every week for who knows how long. And he was just like, hey, that's great. Yeah, of course you can. We totally support that. And I was just like, oh my God, I love you guys. So even right now, I'm literally at the studio working, or I'm supposed to be working, but they're very supportive of me coming in and doing this sort of stuff. So it's never been a problem. And it's been like 2.5 years of doing this stuff, and they've never batted an eye about it. So they're very supportive.
That's super cool. Well, I'm glad they're super supportive. Because otherwise there would be no Penelope half-pint.
That's right. Oh my goodness. So sad to think about.
So I know we're getting to the getting towards the end of our slotted time for an interview. Is there anything that you want to shout out, go over before we start to wrap things up?
Oh, goodness. That's a question. I don't know. I mean, I think just okay. I don't know. You got anything else for me?
I just wasn't sure if there was a project you're like, oh, I'm working on this and it's really exciting because of these things, or I'm doing something for this that's coming up. I don't know. A lot of the people that we work with have 500,000 things on the go, or 10 million like B Dave, and so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I gave you room to do that if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm always looking for, openings to play more D&D, to maybe be part of more events and shows and charities. It's one of my favorite things to be able to perform for people and, bring some joy to their day, anything I can do to entertain. I am on a different show called Attackers of Opportunity, which is a D&D podcast where we play D&D that comes out I think every week, which is a fun show that I do, and it's literally, you can find it anywhere podcasts are found. And I play this really adorable half-orc monk who, her name is Dirt, and she likes to fight, and you better stay out of her way because she's a monk and she's gonna beat you up. And so there's that. If anybody's interested in listening to that, it's a really fun show. The cast is really funny and really great, and the DM has a really great story for it. He's really intertwined a lot of things. And yeah, I think the next thing on my horizon is I would really love to start DMing. I think that I really would love to become more of a storyteller, and find space for that. So I've only DM'd once on a live stream, and I've only DM'd a home game maybe once or twice. So I'm still really new to it, but I absolutely love it. And I hope that it's kind of my goal right now is to kind of get out there and start DMing more. I have a couple games in mind that I'm starting to plan. But yeah, one day that would be my dream, is to maybe DM on a live stream for some people. And so that's kind of the goal.
Super cool. That goes back to the whole going to film school to be a director type thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm a storyteller at heart, so it's great getting to be a part of a story and kind of add to a story as Penelope. But it would be really cool to be able to create a story and get to bring someone else's characters into that story and kind of lead them through an adventure.
Huh. Do you have like a campaign setting in mind, or would it be entirely homebrew, or?
Yeah, I love homebrew. I've always been a fan of homebrew. All my old home games are all homebrew. I have a couple of ideas in mind where I have this island called the Retirement Island that is an island that is so magical that it lifts you and gives you more strength, and that's why people go to retire there. And suddenly one day all the magic starts to fade away, and it's up to the party, the adventuring party, to figure out what's happening and get to the bottom of it, so that these all these retired people don't like fade away or die, because they need that energy to live. So that'd be like a fun one shot or something to do. But yeah, I don't know, stuff to do.
Yeah, Lauren says that if you ever need players to DM for, that she'll be there.
I love that so much, but I always get really nervous when I'm like DMing for other DMs, which I've done before. Like my home campaign was just like nothing but DMs. I was really nervous about it because I'm like, oh, they're gonna know everything, and I'm not gonna, I'm gonna really mess up around them. But they were so supportive because they were DMs, and they're like, oh no, you got this, and we'll help you out, and we can really give you a lot of pointers because we are DMs. So I'd be a little bit nervous to play for Lauren, though. I don't know. She's too cool. She's too cool for me.
Yeah, I hear you about DMing for DMs.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. You're like, they can help you, but it makes it also easier for them to challenge you on stuff.
Yeah.
Which is not always awesome. Sometimes it's all right. That's super cool. No, I can't. Yeah, because you can't talk about those things. It's funny. I keep mentally running into roadblocks. I'm like, no, because if I ask about that, that'll be under NDA.
I know. Like one of the biggest questions I get is like, what are you working on right now? Do you have any like mocap stuff or stunt stuff that you can talk about? I'm like, no, I can't talk about it. Sorry. Yeah, especially with mocap, I would love to be able to post more mocap stuff. But sometimes those are the strictest of NDAs. Like, you can't even like post pictures of you in your suit in the volume or sometimes.
Yeah.
Even though there's like nothing there, because everything is make-believe in mocap, which is kind of the best thing. It's like such a good mix for people who play D&D and have to imagine everything. Like mocap is literally you in an empty space pretending and making things up and embodying a character, and I think that's like a perfect like parallel to playing D&D. So a lot of people who played like TJ, people who play D&D are really good at mocap, or the other way around, people who would do mocap might be really good at D&D because they can just visualize and picture everything.
Yeah, it's just able to imagine and self-immerse in this thing.
Yeah. It's pretty cool because like in mocap, like they, when you learn about mocap, like you have to have such a strong imagination. Like you have to get down to the finite details of like this room. What does it smell like? Is there dew on the grass that you're walking on? Is this ship, is it listing from this way or this way, or is it going this way and this way? It's like you have to think of every little detail. This invisible person that you're talking to, do they have a quirk about them every time they talk? Do they blink weird? Like every finite detail you have to imagine in your head, and the more you can do that, the better your performance can be, and the more realistic it'll look when it's actually in that setting, when it's actually processed.
That's super cool. Yeah, it's something I'd love to chat more about. Obviously, not about any of the stuff that you're currently working on, but it's super fascinating, and it's something that, especially in television and film, but also very much in video games now as well, you really notice motion capture. Because as good as artists are, and artists can be pretty incredible, and they can get to the point where they can recreate life in some pretty brilliant ways. But then you see some things that are really motion captured at that next level, where you see, Andy Serkis playing Gollum or whatever.
Yeah.
And there is a complete performance showing up.
Yeah.
Which seems, that's something that motion capture has brought to all these artistic mediums. So
yeah, and
cool.
it's a growing art every day. The technology is getting better. The performers are getting more comfortable doing what they do in the volume, And you literally could mocap anything. I mean, one time I had this job where I had to play 40 different children in the same day, all being frightened of a bear and being attacked by a bear. It was some weird, very weird, I forget what the show was, but it was very weird, where it was like a pilot for Adult Swim, where I played like 40 different kids like being scared and running away from a bear, and then I got to be one kid who got pile drived by the bear. So that was really fun. And just like some really ridiculous stuff that you just have to be like, okay, I'm here for it. You want to be a kid who gets pile driven by a bear? All right, let's do it.
Huh. That's super neat. Also, that's got to be funny. Like, you have to be there and you're like in the like gray spandex or whatever. Right? That's
Yep.
I'm just picturing it with the, the reference points on you and stuff. And they're like, all right, now picture this bear is going to pick you up and it's going to pile drive you into this mat. And you're like, what?
Yeah, it's pretty great. I see in the chat that they want me to do the in-character Penelope introduction again.
Yeah.
Shall I do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, because I don't think that's the first time they even asked for it. I think they asked at the beginning, but...
Oh, I'm sorry that we missed it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can remember it. Hello, my name is Penelope Half-Pint. Well, Half-Pint isn't my real name. It's this nickname I got this one time at the pub when I drank a half pint of mead. No, it was a whole pint of mead. No, it was half of a whole pint, but I still drank the whole half of it.
That's... I always forget how adorable Penelope is until you're playing her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. It also it makes me think of the Lord of the Rings.
Yes. They come in pints.
Like, I want one. Yeah. And plus, you were talking about Samwise Gamgee last time as well. Mm-hmm. About Penelope. And
yeah. And how she's completely derived. I think one time somebody asked me if Penelope was written after Frodo, and I said no. There's actually no Frodo in Penelope because she's completely inspired by Samwise Gamgee, who was the real hero of the story, who was always kind and giving and optimistic and always there for his friend and would carry him through Mordor, and always just saw the light in everything that was dark. I remember his speech in the middle of the two towers when Frodo wants to give up. It just always brings chills to me how inspiring he is, and how he's never going to give up. He won't give up on his friends, and he won't give up on what's right and what needs to happen to save the world. So that's a lot of Penelope is in that.
Yeah, that and the it kills me every time I hear that I can't carry your burden, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you, and he carries him up the rest of the way. It's
makes
just
me
like
cry every time.
Yeah. Even just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I want to watch those movies again.
I believe he didn't even get nominated for an Oscar for that. I don't know if he did. I know he definitely didn't win one.
I don't think so. I think the only major award, like acting awards they got, were Ian McKellen nominations, and of course he was incredible.
Yeah.
But they just like annihilated every technical award possible.
Yeah.
Like, we'll take
Oscars and
all of these. And also best song and director of picture. Just like
well deserved. What an amazing trilogy.
Yeah. Oh. And of course Amazon's making more. So we'll see.
Super stoked about that.
Yeah. Okay, well anyways, I know you have a day job to get back to.
No, don't make me go back.
I'm sorry, but it's time. The time has come. Thank you so much for just not just like joining me on stream today and last week and like sharing this aspect, but like just for creating Penelope and sharing her with the world, the just like kind of bringing this joy and goodness, and not just another edgelord fierce character to the game. It's really appreciated, and thank you for taking time today out of what I'm sure is a very busy schedule, given that everything is back up and running again. So thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And of course, thank you so much for, making Penelope so perfect and really bringing her heart into a reality.
It has been our pleasure. I have her skipping in the background right now.
Yay!
And that's also why I named the first code Penelope Skip. But yeah, there she is beside Beetle and Freely and Averin and Briv.
Yay, Briv! Yay!
Yeah, Briv, one of our most overpowered champions, who can do everything.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was one of those calls we're talking to Adam. He's like, and he could do this, and he could do
And
this, and I'm like, Todd gave you all that? Like,
yep.
it was really funny. Anyways, yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, and yeah, have an amazing rest of your week.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you everybody for watching.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, huge shout out and thanks to Hope for joining me today. I'm going to make a couple adjustments because I noticed partway during the call with Hope that I don't have background music today. And the reason that is because I'd been changing a bunch of stuff. I made an adjustment to our splash screen so I could play the song Won't You Be My Friend that Jason Charles Miller, myself, and Hope and Twitch chat wrote last week for Penelope. And then I was in the process of adjusting some audio for some other parts, and I didn't put a background track in. So I am going to just put something on so that we have something playing, because otherwise there's those awkward pauses where you don't hear anything at all. So what do we got? What song of ours have I not done to death? How about this one? This is probably going to play really loud to start, so hold on a second. Oh, good. I got it in time. Let me know if that is too loud. It sounds fine to me right now, but just let me know in chat if it tends to come up too loud. Anyways, I know that there were a few other questions. I'm just trying to double check that. Oh, some interesting questions. Let's see. Penelope's Champion Spotlight stated her base heal is 38 health a second. In game it says 1 health a second, but the actual heal ends up being higher. What is the bug here? That is a great question that I'm going to make a note for Sean on. Because I don't know what the bug is. Crazy Matt Captain, we have heard that Lucius will arrive by the end of the year, but can we get some teasers for champions that are to come in the new year? That's a good question. And you've caught me at an interesting time. I was chatting with our marketing director, Clive, 1/3 of the marketeer trio at Codename Entertainment. We noticed while we were chatting about something that we actually only have 4 more work weeks left this year. Tomorrow being our Extra Life, which I hope everybody tunes into because Codename Extra Life is always a blast. I will be kicking things off at 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. People are saying the music is a little bit low. Oh, really? Okay. I don't want to make it overpowering, and so I'm trying to... There we go. I've turned it up a bit. Anyway, so Codename Extra Life is tomorrow. But that also means that tomorrow is not going to be a day where we get a lot of work done, because during Codename Extra Life, we play games with each other all day long. I will be kicking things off at 9 a.m. Playing my nomination for Game of the Year, Hades by Supergiant. Super cool studio that has a pretty consistent track record of making awesome games. Bastion was awesome. I didn't play Transistor, but Hades is incredible. Love it. Absolutely love it. So I'll be playing that, and I also haven't played it in like a month or so, because I didn't want to play it so much that I was amazing at it for the stream, because like as much as that would make me feel cool about myself, I thought it might be more fun if there was a good chance that I wouldn't make it through, because like I can make it to the end boss, but I haven't managed to kill him yet. So if I do during the stream tomorrow, that will be my first one. Anyways, so I am kicking things off with Hades. We have a lot of other really cool things lined up, and I'm gonna start talking about what else we're doing in a second. And I will get back to the original question about previewing champions for next year. I just want to talk a little bit about Extra Life 2020. So we have a Call of Cthulhu TRPG happening. We have a Founders AMA with David and Justin, which will be between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. I know a lot of you have technical questions about either game design or different aspects of balancing, that kind of stuff. Those are the two for whom you should save your questions for tomorrow at noon. We have, let's see, Board Game Arena. Justin is doing a Build a Champion live where he's going to work with chat and walk you through how he approaches champion design for the game. We have live drawing with Kat being one of our talented artists who goes by @artmonkey on Twitter. I think this year she is drawing monsters, and if you donate through her Extra Life campaign, you can change monsters, get her to draw specific things, that kind of stuff. It was very cool. I had the good fortune of donating to her campaign last year where she did a massive poster-sized collage of D&D characters, and I added our Mopey Curse of Strahd group to it, and also, I don't know if Lauren is still in chat, but Lauren added Orkira and Hope added Penelope, and a number of other people added their characters. There was a Strahd in the background. There was like a dragon popping out of the moon or something. Like, there's a lot of really cool stuff. So totally support Kat's drawing if you can. Due to popular demand, Sean and Margaret will be doing Unfortunate Karaoke tomorrow, is what they've called it. So the karaoke stream with Sean and Margaret that people have been asking for a while now will happen. Is currently scheduled to start at, it looks like 6:30 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night. I have seen their setup and test for it. It's real. I haven't seen the full list of songs they've picked, but yeah. Even though, I mean, I'm not personally going to be in the office today, but I'm probably going to turn on Twitch to catch that tomorrow night, because yeah. We will once again be doing a good chunk of Beat Saber, because there's so many fans of Beat Saber in the office. Also, they got a really sweet green screen set up so that the person can be standing in the void, Beat Sabering. There's going to be a good long session of Among Us between most, I think like half of the staff at Codename all playing Among Us. Who will kill who? I guess we'll see. Rock Band, Tipsy or Tired local multiplayer. Lots of board games. There's super late night drawing that Kat also does. Kat handles the 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift of content, and I think she did that last year as well, which is super dope. So anyways, if you want information about our Extra Life, where you can find it, all that kind of stuff, I am going to grab the link to our Extra Life post from our website, and I'm going to dump it in chat in a second. But I'm going to wait a little bit before I hit the button, because there's that stream delay, and I want it to make sense why I'm posting this. But yeah, if you are in a position to give, because obviously this year is its own unique challenge for all of us in very different ways than perhaps we were expecting at the beginning of the year. So, it's a great cause. The money goes to support, what is it, Children's Miracle Network hospitals or whatever they call them. But for us, we support BC Children's Hospital Foundation, which is a pretty good charity. And let's be honest, like, all money going to hospitals right now will be used, and will be used for good things. So it's a worthy cause if you're in a position to participate. I know the Idle Champions DLC is the Pirate Parrot. I haven't actually seen the what they've set up for our other games, Crusaders of Lost Idols and Bushwhacker, but all that information should be there. Okay, so back to the question. How we have heard that Lucius will arrive by the end of the year, but can we get some teasers for champions that are to come in the new year? There are so there are a few challenges with teasers because we lock things in, which is to say they are written in stone and absolutely coming to the game 2 to 3 months out now. So yes, Lucius Viren Elwin Elanasto, played by Chris Trott on High Rollers Eros, is coming to the game, and he is coming to the game with our next event, Cimmeral, in a few weeks. And the final champion of the year is one that Mark Meir has voiced in a Baldur's Gate game. He has voiced a few of them, but that's the teaser for that one. I don't have. What can I say about what's coming next year? I don't want to. What I don't want to do is to tease a character and have them potentially get moved, because the first few months of next year, everything is very much still in flux. Like it's still a little bit fluid and not quite as locked in as I would like. But what I can say is that what can I say? Let me just look at what the scheduling is. I can't spoil that one at all. I can say that that one. See, I'm looking at the list of what's currently slated for next year, and one of them is a brand new character that wasn't there last week, that has shuffled things around again. So I gotta be real careful about how I talk about this. Some of Penelope's closest friends will be arriving in the game next year. I can't tell you when. That's a great big, not question mark for me, but it's not written in stone yet. Release dates could potentially change, and I'd hate to say, oh, this is happening, and then have it not. That would be a little bit upsetting. But we have this week and last week and the week prior had some meetings and some design calls with some really, really awesome people that we have a huge amount of love and respect for in the D&D community, whose characters will be coming to the game, but the exact dates and times are a little bit TBD. So, yes, Lucius next, a Mark Meir character after that, and several of Penelope's friends will arrive next year. I think that's about as far as I can go. Let's see. Question from Garwar. Champion is going to be designed on stream by Justin for Extra Life, apparently. Is this a C&E original, and is it for this year or next year? That is a great question. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is with them. I don't know. I don't know how many of you used to watch. There was a design show on the D&D channel a while back where they would go over how to design subclasses and stuff like that. And I think this might be similar in that whatever is designed with Justin on stream for Extra Life is not necessarily something that we're actually doing. It's probably just him walking through how we design champions and how they're balanced and stuff like that. So, alrighty. Let's see. Some levels appear to be much more difficult compared to the normal level increase. How often does that occur? That's great. It's so some campaigns are intentionally more difficult than other campaigns. Like the first campaign that you start playing in the game is the Grand Tour of the Sword Coast, right? And that's like our baseline difficulty. And then the next one is Tomb of Annihilation. And it's a little more difficult right off the bat because you need to unlock a number of adventures in Grand Tour before you have access to it. And each successive campaign is also like that. So, like, I know that some players who started the Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign in the game recently were surprised when the bosses absolutely smoked them. Because, the new campaigns grow in difficulty-ish with... where we anticipate players to have earned item levels and equipment and, champion formations and synergies and so on and so forth. So they do kind of scale up in difficulty. Now, that being said, there are outliers to it. There are times that it's inconsistent, and I'm, more than willing to hear feedback about that. Yeah. Did somebody ask a question before it started saying extra life in chat constantly? Because I would have missed it. Let's see. Silent guy. Among Us with the C&E team. 100% imposters. That would be funny. Except that it would just end instantly, wouldn't it? Now, it would be funny if there was like 5 imposters and 2 people who weren't. And they're like trying to figure it out. Yeah. Anyways. Margaret said she would queue up the pirate parrot for you to show off. Can you let it roam the ultimate bar? I will check. I have honestly not looked. Oh, hey. That's cute. Look at that pirate parrot. I'm going to put you back down on the ultimate bar so that just stuff randomly happens. Just, for the love of God, try not to hit Beetle and Grimm's ultimate and switch to Grimm, because this is a short formation for the most part. For that sweet, sweet Penelope DPS, because she scales great. Yeah. Anyways, that is the pirate parrot familiar. Sneaky Margaret, putting that in my account. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. Okay, what else? Can you name some classes that are coming next year? We had a call today with someone whose character is a paladin. We had a call the other day with someone whose character is a warlock. We've also recently had calls with people who have clerics and wizards. Yeah, that's so vague. Yeah. Anywho, let's see. In the same way that campaigns get harder, are patrons more difficult in the same pattern as in Vajra is more difficult than Mert? Not exactly, Breaker Fist. So they kind of are intended to be more difficult, like Mert, Vajra, and Strahd having successively more difficult modifiers, as we put it. But at the end of the day, it's how that modifier, how that, whatever you have to overcome. It's how that modifier impacts what's already in an adventure that makes it especially difficult. Strahd is the more difficult one because, because D&D has a lot of charisma-focused characters and fewer intelligence-focused characters, and so int is a dump stat for everybody, and so there aren't a lot of high int characters, making Strahd variants more difficult, especially if said variants limit you in some other ways. So they are somewhat intended to be an escalation of difficulty there, but yeah, it's not consistent across the board because we just have we have hundreds of variants at this point, right? So there's just so many adventures where, one specific aspect of it makes it more difficult than something else. Will there be a Beyond Heroes / Silver and Steel affiliation? That is a great question that I can't comment on. Yeah. Let's see, what else? Plot twist, they're all B. Dave Walters and it's Freely. Well, Freely's already in the game. But yeah, B. Dave does like himself a multi-class. Which I thought was insane, and then I saw him playing Freely, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it works, it makes sense. A Valor Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, paladin who can smite, and yeah, all that stuff is just is sheer craziness to watch. But it works. It works. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Nothing but clones of Freely. Yeah. That would be interesting, Lauren. That would be really interesting. When did this game come out? We arrived on Steam in early access in the summer of 2017. So there was a closed beta, and then it kind of came out. What was it? It was September 2017, and then we came out of early access in March of last year. Which is to say that we feel like the game is close to feature complete, and while we intend to continue live servicing for years to come, major features like Modron automation are going to become fewer and fewer. So, yeah. Our Green Paradox, the joy of Travis Willingham getting to do level 5 Divine Smites as a Hexadin is a joy to watch. Yeah, and he's not even using Divine Smite and Eldritch Smite, which is to say, I mean, maybe Matt Mercer doesn't let him, but rules as written, in theory, you can do both smites on an attack. So that's 2 5th level spell slots. And knocking a thing prone, and if it's a guaranteed crit, then it's, something like 20 d8 or whatever. It gets out of hand. Are any characters coming from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything? So, not exactly. What can I say about that? We don't have plans currently for any champions based off of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything to be coming to the game. That being said, browsing through Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, there's a lot of stuff in there we like. And, aspects of that material will be making their way into the game in other areas. Will there be major changes to Modron cores when the third core comes out? The biggest thing... so this is a trickier one to ask. Modron automation is something that... we have plans to continue to iterate on, to continue to smooth out the process, make it run better, moving forward. And a lot of that is stuff that we want to get done before we introduce another core to potentially make things even more complex. And so that's, I don't want to say it's holding it back, but there's a point that the dev team wants to reach before we consider introducing the third core. But we do have plans for the third core. So that's about as much as I can say on the subject. So, yeah. Are there any tanks who start with a magic base attack that are being considered? Let me think for a moment. I don't think so. Currently. Yeah. Can we have a gem buff or a speed buff on our Modron cores? Maybe at level 15? I think that's highly unlikely. Modron cores already allow you to dramatically amplify the number of gems that you're able to earn, and it's a whole second formation in addition to your main one. So gem buffs and speed buffs, that's not something that we're currently looking at doing, and it's not ruled out for the future. But if your expectation with the third Modron core is that it'll have a gem hub, or that increases gems, or a speed hub that increases the speed it runs, I think that's very unlikely. Yeah. Champion suggestion: a tiefling trickster cleric who does not heal. Her ultimate is throwing a cupcake. That sounds hilarious. I think trickster clerics. So I think trickster cleric was one of those types of clerics that people didn't have a huge amount of interest in until they saw Laura Bailey playing one, and they're like, "Wow, that character is amazing." realizing that also the character is amazing because Laura Bailey is a very, very talented actor and one of the most talented voice actors, period. And so that's a huge reason why that character is so awesome. But yeah, trickster clerics you just don't see as many of. They're super cool. You know, throwing a cupcake, that's interesting. I know, just to speak about D&D in general for a moment, I played through a campaign as a cleric, and I was a death domain cleric because they were essentially like they were very much a devout follower of Kelemvor, but they were edgier and darker because that's the character I made in that moment because I'm an edgelord at heart. And but I actually was surprised over the course of the campaign because nobody else wanted to play a healer, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll bite that bullet, but I'm going to play an edgelord healer. I was surprised over the course of the campaign how much I liked playing a cleric. It's a lot of fun in 5e. You're not just a heal bot, but you know, there's some interesting ways to play it. And I think the next time I play a cleric, I'm actually going to go Arcana, because you have access to wizard cantrips that count as cleric cantrips for the purposes of using them. And so you can do things like, you know, use Magic Initiate to get Shillelagh, and use that and Green Flame Blade with your staff, which will hit and get a bonus damage based on Wisdom that will also hit based on with that bonus on extra targets, and like you can get into a really nasty tanky healer, which would be super fun. And I kind of like that aspect. I don't like sitting back unless I'm playing a cowardly character like the wizard I'm playing in the Office campaign right now. Anyways, let's see. Are there plans to see any more of the classic Roll20 Presents crew bring characters back to the game? I feel like Ishii is lonely. There's a reference to Tritons in either Ishii or Shara's upgrade, so I wondered if Arcturus might be in the works. What can I say about that? Well, the first thing I can say is that working with Violet Miller, Distracted Elf, is a joy. They're totally freaking awesome human, and you know, one of my favorite guests ever to have on stream, because I can, super fun. We don't currently have any plans to do more of those that season of Roll20 Presents characters. It's not something that's currently in the plans, but it's not something that we rule out. I know they changed DMs, and now Violet is DMing, and some other people are playing, and so I don't think we've been in touch with any of them since. So I don't know. It's always a possibility. Let us know if that's something that you would really like to see. Let's see. Somebody asking Tasha as a patron ? I think Tasha is a perfect fit for a patron. I don't know if that's what the dev team is planning or what the design team is planning, but that would make sense, wouldn't it? Let's see. The slider for purchasing gold chests in the gem store is difficult to set to specific amounts. Could you add buttons to make the selection easier? I will pass your feedback along, Sir Arabin. I'm just going to make a note here. Huge success. When will the next sales be? Unfortunately, lick it tongue. So, you know, I've actually considered putting a minor, like a small FAQ on a timer in our chat so that it just pops up with some of our most common questions and the answers for them. Not to call you out for asking this particular question or anything, but just so that, you know, I don't end up repeating myself on stream too much about it, because sometimes we get asked the same questions a lot. When it comes to sales information, we have different agreements with each platform that we're on, all of which preclude us from sharing sales information in advance. So unfortunately, we are not really ever going to be in a position to talk about sales in advance of them happening. It's just not something that we can really do. And I know that the reason that somebody asks us is that you know, they have a purchase decision in mind, and you know, they're hoping for more information about it, or maybe perhaps better timing. And unfortunately, I can't really help you with that. However, What I can say is that if you look to previous years in when we've done sales on different platforms, what the timing was, what the cadence was, it should give you some valid insight into what may be happening next or in the future. Alrighty, next question. My character was a war cleric and then multi-classed at 9 and went Eldritch Knight. Nice combo, I thought. Yeah, there's some really, really cool multi-class stuff you can do with clerics. The Arcana one I was just talking about isn't one I was planning on ever doing a multi-class with, but if I was going to multi-class a cleric, the combo that interests me the most is Tempest Cleric and Storm Sorcerer. Using the sorcerer levels to get access to the better spells, and the meta magic that, thanks to Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, you can now make any kind of spell into lightning damage, for example. And then combining that with the fact that a Tempest Cleric can get a guaranteed max damage roll on a spell that is lightning or thunder, which is so abusable. Just super fun. But War Domain clerics are badass. I mean, you just wade right into combat and you're dishing out damage. Not quite at the level of a fighter or something, of course, but you're dishing out good damage while also supporting your team and doing. War clerics are awesome. Eldritch Knight, I've found personally, it never really worked for me in 5e. I just don't like the way that it feels. I think as a Gish, I preferred either a Hexblade Warlock or a Blade Singer Wizard, or one of the other versions. Yeah, it just felt more like that class fantasy of casting spells and wielding a weapon in a way better than what I liked with Eldritch Knight. So I don't know. That's just me. Is the background song from Penelope's Variants? No. The background song is so. We have a soundtrack for a game that we used to have as a live service game called Shards of Titan. That was a very beautiful game that unfortunately didn't thrive. So the soundtrack lives on as the background music for some of our streams. I know sometimes people ask us if we'll share it or if we'll release it. We won't. But you can enjoy it in the background when I'm not talking. Allow us to open more than 50 silver chests at a time, please. I'll pass that feedback along. I don't think that's something that we're looking at doing. I think opening 50 chests at a time is a lot. And I get that, people who are hoping to get shinies want to, maybe open 500 or 1,000 silver chests and just know whether or not they got it. But the opening 50 at a time is not something that we're planning to do. I feel like around the time I unlocked my second group, I started experiencing some lag in Idle Champions, especially during level changes. I can't really speak to that, the big 7913. I don't know what platform you're on. I don't know if it's a PC, what your system is like. The character in the second group in the background isn't running at the same time as yours in quite the way that I think that you might be assuming. It's a completely different algorithm that's doing all that stuff, but it's totally plausible that it might be contributing to some kind of latency thing for you. If you open an in-game support ticket, for Sean, and describe the issue that you're seeing and as much information about everything at the same time, maybe he can help you, but I don't know that there's anything I can do about it here. Let's see. Can we have an enemy boss that swaps champions in the formation? So an enemy boss that just looks at the formation and just moves stuff around on you? Oh man, that would be irritating. Careful with that Pandora's box, because I passed that idea along to Chris and Justin. You might see it, and yeah. Are items that I don't purchase in a wild offer, for example, familiars, gone for good, or will they come back after some time? So the wild offer system is not one that I have a huge amount that I can say about it. What I can say is that the sales that it comes up with are randomly generated, and they're generated based off of what you have and don't have in the game. So if hypothetically you had every golden epic that had ever come out, you've unlocked every champion, you've got every skin, all those things. If you had everything, then the wild offer system wouldn't really have anything to draw from. But, we all miss something. We miss weekend promos, or we miss whatever. And so it draws from what you have access to but don't have. And then it also is where things that were previously available, like old retired familiars and skins, it's also where they show up. Unless it was something that was unlocked for free or through gameplay, in which case there's also a chance that those things might show up in the gem store instead. A question about Magic the Gathering. I was made for this. Alrighty, just give me a second here. Given the recent Magic the Gathering Dungeons & Dragons source books and the upcoming Magic the Gathering set based in the Forgotten Realms, is there any potential for Planeswalkers or other Magic the Gathering related stuff to show up in Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms? Probably not. In general, Magic the Gathering and D&D are IPs that are pretty separate. And a Magic the Gathering set in Magic, or a D&D set in Magic, or a Magic the Gathering setting book, like this one here. These aren't really... How do I describe it? They don't mix their IP. There's no Forgotten Realms in this. So, I don't know. There was a time when I would have said that categorically, it's probably never going to happen. But, that was before Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica and Mythic Odysseys of Theros had come out, before they had announced a Forgotten Realms set for Magic the Gathering. So, maybe it's possible. But what I can pretty safely say is that named characters that are important from Magic the Gathering, like the individual placewalkers, like Jace Beleren or Soren Markov or Nicol Bolas or what have you, will likely never appear in Idle Champions ever, because those keystone characters, they keep them pretty separate. But who knows? There's a Walking Dead Magic the Gathering promo. They did a Godzilla crossover for Ikoria. So, who knows what the future holds? But do I think that Jason, Chandra, and Nissa, and Soren, and so on will ever show up in the game? I don't think so. Characters that are that distinct from those IPs are unlikely, extremely unlikely. Alrighty. We're an hour and a half into the stream. Is it now socially acceptable to ask about the hidden code? So I hid the hint for the hidden code in the very beginning of the stream. Yeah. And I even let Hope know exactly what it was before we started. So yeah, I can confirm that there is one. That if you reload this stream on the VOD or in the YouTube video that when I uploaded it after this, that you will, it's there to be found. I was a little bit tricksy with it, but you guys are smart, so I just keep making these harder and harder. So, alrighty. Would it be possible to have some way to distinguish the modest and strong Modron cores, maybe a different icon or even just M&S labels? I will pass that along. Yeah, that's good feedback. It's something I hadn't really considered, but now that I think about it, I have run into that before. Any update on Big Sur compatibility for the Steam client? I don't have any technical updates to give. Carnage Rose, I'm sorry. Yeah. FYI, having a bug occur on my PC somewhat frequently. I'm unable to open the shop. Pressing the shop key just takes me to the chest screen, and the shop button does nothing. That is really weird, Dale, or Dage10. Please open an in-game support ticket if that button works. If not, send us an email, idlechampions@codenameentertainment.com. Yeah. That sounds like a bug, for sure. What time are Chris and Justin on tomorrow? So it's Dave and Justin who are doing the Founders AMA. That is, you know what? I will pull up that schedule again. Oh Lord, where's the? There it is. There's the schedule button. So just to reiterate again, the Founders AMA with David and Justin is between 12 o'clock p.m. and 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. And then the Build a Champion Live with Justin is starts at, I think it looks like 2:30 p.m. tomorrow and runs until 3:30 p.m. ish. These will be as approximate of times as they can be, but as Extra Life is a 24-hour live production, there's some, it varies somewhat. The only thing that I'm sure will start on time is me playing Hades, because it's right at 9 a.m. and it's right at the very start. But we'll see. I mean, we're doing a lot of really interesting stuff in order to keep things remote. Well, not all remote, but keeping traffic in the office down to a minimum and all that stuff. So it's I will be playing Hades here at home with this Xbox controller that's plugged into my PC, and I'll be piping my video feed to the office, and then it'll go from there out on stream. So it's gonna be a trip. Yeah. The delay between me saying something and you hearing it is gonna be a lot bigger than it usually is for me. So yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. It's I've been looking forward. Just like last year when I spent months looking forward to playing Untitled Goose Game for everybody. This year it's Hades. Yeah. Did I ever remember what the second evil hidden code was? I have no idea, Garwar. That's lost. I'd like to blame it on the fact that we had a baby earlier this year and my brain is still just recovering. But yeah. Oh, this is a really good question, Shalafi. Shalafi has asked, since Lord Soth appears as an example of Death Knights in the Monster Manual 5e, could we have him in Idle Champions one day? Now, for those who don't know, Lord Soth has been around a bit in terms of fantasy narrative. Like, talking about a character that was originally from Krynn, made their way to Ravenloft, is like the definitive Death Knight when you think of Death Knights and what Death Knights are. So, I think I've asked before too. I think I've asked our team, like, hey, can we put Lord Soth in? And they're like, not yet, or no, or whatever. So, could Lord Soth appear? I think so. Unlike other characters created for, like, Dragonlance, for example, those main characters like Tanis Half-Elven and Kitiara and so forth, are extremely unlikely to ever show up in our game, because our game is Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, and they are not from the Forgotten Realms. But Ravenloft is a whole different thing. Lord Soth made his way there. And I don't remember there being a reference of Lord Soth anywhere in the Curse of Strahd book, so maybe it's not something that is still considered to be canon. I don't know. But you know, I mean, I have a monster manual right here, and if I pull up the Death Knight section, page 47, there he is, Lord Soth, who also looks super dope. Yeah, I think it's possible but unlikely. You know, but it's a whole order of magnitude more possible than the like the hero characters from the Dragonlance books, for example. Yeah, that's a good question, Shalafi. Is there a specific Xbox controller that works best with Steam/Idle Champions? So, Breaker Fist, I guess the thing about Xbox controllers, so Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X controllers, you plug them in to a Windows PC and they just work. You know, Microsoft has made sure that they work. They work, and they just work great. And so I think all three of those, the Xbox 360 onwards ones, they have a USB plug. They just plug in, and then no issues. They just work just fine. You know, in my experience with using like a PlayStation controller plugged into a PC is that they don't always work. So there's also that. Yeah, so I don't know if which one of those ones works the best, but I think Xbox 360 controllers are the cheapest, so I recommend those. I actually have another one here, like I have two from when my wife and I were playing co-op games at one point on our Steam Link. Does anybody remember Steam Link? No? Well, Steam Link was a thing that was, in theory, kind of cool. Will you cosplay for us, Dylan, for charity? No. I don't have any costumes, and with the current state of the world, I'm not likely to get out much to get anything. So, Sergeant Sally, new here. What is this hidden code you're talking about? So, some of our live stream shows, we will make more than one code. So, there's that one up there that you can see. Sorry, I guess you can't see my hand because it's cut off, but like the one in the corner of the screen, Penelope Skip, is the official code for today's live stream. If you put it into your Idle Champions hidden combinations, locked chest and combinations thing, you will, get a gold chest for Penelope. And that code is live until 1:00 p.m. on Thursday, November 26th. At the same time, I made another code. And that code will unlock a silver Penelope chest if you find it. And yeah, it's hidden. I've done a lot of different things to hide codes in stream. I've taken the easy route and have it be the episode name. I've made it phrases that I say, or tied to characters' abilities, that kind of stuff. And I hid one in this one, and it's different. But yeah, I'm not going to give you guys a better hint because you guys are too smart. I can't outthink the internet hive mind. So I have no doubt it will be found. Yeah. All right. Also, there was just an update on Steam and on Android. Any info on what we might see in those? I have no idea. Xbox Quick Mithril. I am on a live stream. I can click over to see what, if anything, has been said about updates getting pushed out. Generally, when we update during an event, it's to fix bugs that we're seeing right now. So my guess is that any updates since Feast of the Moon 4 went live are to fix and address different issues. So let's see. Yeah, it looks like we have some folks who are experiencing a bug where they were getting stuck at calculating offline progress no matter what happened. And so that is one of the things that we've been working on. but yeah, it's looking like that's what we're doing. Is there's an issue that causes players to not load the game, and so recent builds are related to addressing that. Yeah. Anywho, so I hope that helps. I don't have an exact list. Hopefully there's a change log. I know that there isn't consistently one, but we really do try to make sure that we include it every time. Yeah. I didn't know if there was maybe talk about new changes or not as far as I'm aware, but I mean, you know, I'm sure Well Spoilers will know whether or not anything has been changed or updated. I think you guys are pretty clear on who the next few champions are, so you know, it's all there. Yeah, which, you know, this is actually really good timing because it's like just about 2:45 my time, which means we're getting close to the end, which means we're getting close to me wrapping things up. Question. Twitch just announced a new channel points API so developers can create cool things to do in channels with channel points. Any chance you guys might tinker with this so I can spend my 150,000 channel points on something? That's a good question, Garwar. Thanks for the heads up, because, you know, I didn't know that. Yeah, so just to speak to that a bit, we have a few lists of quality of life things we'd like to do both to our Twitch channel and to our Discord. And it's just a matter of, strangely, in this COVID year where we're all working remotely, although not really surprisingly, the video game industry is just busier. I have not been as busy as I am now. Certainly wasn't previous to COVID, and that's just how things have been. Which is not to make an excuse about why we haven't done more with our Twitch channel and haven't done more with our Discord, but it's a big reason that it's just like trying to find people who have spare cycles to take on individual things has been a challenge, and certainly a number of the best quality of life changes to our Discord were because of people like Mars. Shout out to Mars. I know you didn't get to stream this week. Hopefully you can stream next week. So anyways, I'm distracting myself. Trying to read chat and think about things and talk at the same time is not something that I always succeed at. Anywho, what else do I have? Extra Life's coming tomorrow. Unfortunately, that means that we do not have an episode of Griddle Champions, nor do we have episodes of Garwar's Guide to Everything in Idle Champions, or Garwar's latest guide episode. Friday, Saturday this week. They are all returning next week. We do have content planned out for you. Let's see, another question for me. Will you be streaming on US Thanksgiving? So US Thanksgiving is an interesting thing. Like, obviously a lot of our players are based in North America, and you know, a lot of North America is America. So I'm not sure yet. I think so. I think we will. I know our Friday shows and our Friday and Saturday shows next week are still going ahead, and we are still planning for our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday shows to go ahead. So it's possible we will still do our live streams on Thursday next week. We might not. Yeah. But I should know by Monday, maybe. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be good to have some fun to watch on Black Friday. Oh yeah, Black Friday's next week too. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. So I'm actually a little surprised at how viable of a DPS Penelope seems to be, because I didn't really try to buff her, but she's taking all them buffs and doing well. If I swatch it's... I'm just so weirded out. God, have I never... Whoops. Maybe I should got the last few minutes. Try out some other stuff. I'm just want to see. Is this an increase? Oh, would you look at that? Huh. Neat. Anywho, do you have any more questions for me? I got another minute or two before I'm going to start wrapping things up. Penelope has some secret DPS going on. That's interesting. I'm gonna. I mean, first of all, if people are using Penelope and enjoying Penelope, that makes us happy. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about that, really. Yeah. Druids of Powerhouses and Penelope packs a punch in capitals, says Owa Lauren. Yes. Yeah, she really does. Which character is created after you? Warden. Warden is the character I had the most hand in helping to design. I have helped to design a number of other characters for the game. I contributed to a few as well. That said, the vast majority of the characters are designed either outright by Justin or by Chris and Justin. So yeah. Preview the weekend buffs, please. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm so used to not talking about the weekend buffs at all anymore because Griddle Champions covers that. I will totally do that. Hold on. Let's see. What is coming up tomorrow? This is a good way to end it. Yeah. Let's see. What's the date? Let's see. This coming weekend is Coin Mastery Weekend with buffs for Avrin, Naeli, Jarlaxle, Briv, and Freely, with a golden epic for Avrin. Was that last weekend? God, what is the date today? Oh God, it's the 19th. We already did that one. All right. Trying that again. This weekend is Agile Allies Weekend with buffs for Shandy, Tyrrell, Hitch, Puent, and Wolfgar, and a golden epic for Shandy. I'm pausing because I'm watching chat to see what the reaction is to the golden epic for Shandy. Anyways. And it looks to me, I'm pretty sure this is actually one that people are going to want. Yeah. Speaking of, I don't have Shandy in this formation, do I? Oh, right, because I put a Shara in because I swapped things around. Oh, yeah, and plus, so the whole reason I took Shandy out and put a Shara in was because Penelope was skipping too fast in the background, and I found it distracting when I was watching earlier. Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in today. It was a real joy to get a chance to chat with... a real joy to get to chat with Hope. What's up with Cleric? What are you talking about? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with Cleric. Anyways. Thank you all so much for joining me today. It has been fun. This has been our show for Thursday, November 19th, 2020, the day before Codename Entertainment Extra Life 2020. Thank you for joining me, for participating in chat, for participating in the Idle Champions and D&D communities. You guys are awesome. Extra huge shout out to Jay, our moderator, producer, Erica, our executive producer, our partners at D&D, our amazing friends like Obo Lauren, but also shout outs as well to Garwar and Mars. I know you guys aren't getting to broadcast this week, but back to normal next week. And finally, of course, huge thanks to Hope LaVelle for joining me today from literally in the middle of her workday at her day job. It was very, very cool. I hope you are all enjoying Penelope. I hope you're able to tune in and enjoy at least some of Extra Life tomorrow. I may have hinted at a few things this stream, including, I don't know, Sentinel Prime there in the battlefield, which some Arrowist people might know more about, and there's some other stuff there too, and some other things coming. The hidden code is in the first 10 minutes of the episode. Thank you all. Take care. Rock on. All that stuff.